Hi everybody, this is Lara at pureelliottwave.com. I'm going to have a quick look at two new cryptocurrencies with you. I'm going to look at Atom or Cosmos, and I'm going to look at Miami coin. Next on my list is Jasmy coin, and I expect to get to that Monday or Tuesday next week. I did just record my work and operator error. I wasn't recording the sound, so that was a waste of time for me, but not for you. So this is going to be a lot quicker, and I'm not going to show you my working because I've already done it and I'm not doing that again. But this is what I've come up with. I have a brief Elliott wave count for Cosmos. I do not have one for Miami coin. When I get to that next, I will explain why. For Cosmos, I am going to label this. I'm going to start my Elliott wave count down here. This is 8th of March 2020. I'm going to see intermediate 1, 2, minor 1, 2, and probably minute 1, 2. So 3 overlapping first and second waves. Let's look at that at the daily chart level. I've done some work on intermediate wave 1 and it all subdivides perfectly. The third wave came out nicely from here to here. It has a pretty good looking 5-wave impulse. I've got a zigzag for minor 2, a combination for minor 4, and look at the shape of minor 3. I am viewing this chart on a semi-log scale and it has a slow start, acceleration through the middle, here's the middle of the third wave, and an explosion at the end. That is a very, very typical looking impulse for a cryptocurrency or a commodity. I like this look, and someone's made a comment a little while ago, and they said once you get 3 or more overlapping first and second waves, you really should be questioning such a wave count. It's probably wrong, and for an index or a stock, absolutely I would. For a commodity, not so much. For a cryptocurrency, absolutely not. I would expect to see that because this is what happens. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4 overlapping first and second waves before we move through the middle and then explode at the end. That is how they start. They start out slow, accelerate through the middle and explode at the end. I think we've got another 1, 2. I haven't looked at the detail of this. I'm pretty sure that's going to subdivide well as an impulse. So this is my wave count for Cosmos. 3 overlapping first and second waves. Let me just put the last minute degree one in here. Yep, so 3 overlapping first and second waves. How about some classic technical analysis? Let's look back over the price history at this really important high on 7th of May 2021, the high $32.13, just over $32.13, and then this low here. Let's look at this one as well, $7.89 on the 22nd of June 2021. How did these indicators behave? At this really important high now, I've got price squished up, but this high here is the same as this point. So we're looking at this high. I want to look at how did it behave here and how did it behave here. Look at the end. 2 weeks of vertical price movement. At this high, volume pushes price higher, but volume at the end of the 5th wave is weaker than the 3rd wave. That absolutely fits the Elliott wave count. RSI reaches deeply overbought here, and by the end of the 5th wave, there's double bearish divergence. It would have been really difficult to pick the end of that here. You could have called for the major high here, actually. Volume pushing price higher, some vertical upward movement, but did that, you didn't have the 2 weeks of vertical upward movement that you usually see at the end of these cryptocurrencies. This is the look I'd want to see. So at this point here, that wasn't the case. So that might have been the only thing to tip you off to expect that in an Elliott wave count, that is, a final 5th wave. But could have been fooled into seeing a high there, but the major high came here. RSI is giving us strong indication. On balance, volume also didn't agree with that last high. ADX indicates a very extreme upward trend, not as extreme as it can get for these cryptocurrencies, but very extreme. At the end, an upward trend indicated, and then the DX lines start to whipsaw. ATR increases through the end of the 3rd wave, declines through much of the 4th wave, starts to show an increase at the end of the 4th wave here. This increase comes during the end of the 4th wave. We see increased volatility. And then it declines through the start of the 5th wave and starts to increase at the end of the 5th wave. Strongest ATR here at the end of the third wave, and then moving into this pullback here, this really deep, well, not a pullback, it's a bear market, isn't it? Huge deep pullback, volume declining and now quite weak, and at the end we have well, this is a long-legged doji. It's not a dragonfly. There's too much of an upper wick. But here's a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern. It didn't have support from volume though. Wow, that's really tricky to pick that low if you're not seeing support from volume. It's not until here that we start to see support from volume. And then here again. That's really hard. There's no bullish divergence at the end of this pullback either, and RSI doesn't really, well, it doesn't get into very extreme territory. So this important low here, this is very, very difficult to identify for Cosmos, really hard. The short-term volume profile at the end remained bearish. No bullish signal from on-balance volume, a little bit. On-balance volume here is not matching this low here. So there's some bullish divergence there, but it's not mirrored with RSI. That would have been really hard to pick. What about this next high? Yeah, volume declining at the end. A huge bearish engulfing candlestick pattern with push from volume. Bearish divergence between price and RSI, and the upward trend reaches very extreme. So this high would have been easier to identify than that prior major low. So this one identifiable, this really hard to identify. What about this? How does it behave at this next huge low? Volume declining. Is this a gravestone doji? A dragon. Yeah, here's a dragonfly doji. Here's a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern. Did the bullish engulfing candlestick pattern have support from volume? Slightly. Okay. Oh, and here there is some bullish divergence between price and RSI. So this one would have been a little bit easier to identify perhaps in that last very important low. The downward trend only just reaches extreme. RSI didn't reach oversold. And ATR starting to pick up at the end slightly, but overall flat. Doesn't really start to increase until here, and then volume is very actively pushing price higher. Okay, what about this? Could this be an important low? Considering how Cosmos has behaved at the last two prior lows, what's it doing now? Here's a really strong, really nice looking dragonfly doji. This is very strong. It's got a very bullish long lower wick. Push from volume, pushing price lower. There is let me move that back up. A bullish signal here from on-balance volume breaking above resistance. Not very strong, but it's there. RSI reaches overbought here. Doesn't reach oversold at this low. There is bullish divergence though here. This trough from RSI and this short-term troughs on price. RSI didn't make a corresponding low. From this point to this point though, no bullish divergence. This is questionable. If you take it on lows or closes, it's going to be looked at differently. So very short term, not very strong divergence if you consider there is. ATR declining as price moved down to that low. I think this could be a sustainable low, but I'm a bit concerned at the short-term volume profile. This red candlestick here, stronger than green candlesticks immediately prior. Shows that there's still pressure from volume to the downside. So I'm not totally confident that low is in. It might be, but I wouldn't have confidence like I would have back here. I'm confident that this low at $20.28 will probably not be breached for Cosmos. Okay, let's look at the last one real quick. Let's look at Miami, and this is all we've got. And I'm not doing an Elliott wave count for this because this low down here is below this, so there's no point really to start the Elliott wave count, and there's just not enough price history for this coin for a reasonable Elliott wave analysis. But it's so cheap, it's less than a cent. throwing $50 or $100 at it and just leaving it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years could turn out to be a really profitable investment. And if I do buy some of this, it really won't be much, not much at all, a really small amount, only an amount that I'm absolutely, completely comfortable, not confident, but very comfortable in losing in its entirety. It's just a random bet at this point. What's the low here on this candlestick? 0.006555, and down here it's below, so it's very recently in the last few sessions made new lows. This is really bullish though. This is the strongest volume of its entire price history, and it's for upward movement within this session. This is an outside day though, a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern with strong push from volume, but that wasn't the low. It's made new lows since then, so this one's really hard to identify. I don't see bullish divergence here between price and RSI. Price reaches deeply oversold here, more deeply than back here and here. There was bullish divergence here at this point, and yet it's gone on to make new lows. So that would have been really difficult to pick. I possibly would have tried to expect it had made its final low here, but that's not the case. The short-term volume profile didn't immediately switch to bullish after that low. I want to see strength off lows to be confident in them, and that just hasn't happened. Here it's bullish, but it needs to be bullish straight off the lows. So what have we got here? Let's pull this down, and this low here, 1st of March, 0.002724, and what is this candlestick? This is a really nice dragonfly doji. That's a bullish reversal pattern. And what is volume doing here? Now we've switched to a bullish volume profile in the last few days. This could be a low for Miami coin. There is also bullish divergence between price and RSI after RSI reached deeply overbought. But what's the close? 0.0035. 0.0032. The close is higher than this close. So on a closing basis, there's no bullish divergence. On the comparing lows for the sessions, there is bullish divergence. So it's not totally clear. But the short-term volume profile has switched to bullish. ADX tells us the prior downward trend did reach extreme, not as extreme as it did back here. On balance volume, it's made its low here. Hasn't made a new low here, so again, same situation as possible bullish divergence between price and RSI as we see between on-balance volume. It may have made a low there. I don't know, that's a hard one to pick as well. If it hasn't made a low here, I think it's probably coming up sooner rather than later. So that's my conclusion for both of those. I think I would be happy to throw a little bit of money at them, not too much though. For Cosmos, my concern is it's well above its lower levels back here, so I think it's a bit late to the party for that one, but not for Miami coin. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support, and Jasmy coin coming up next week.